Sakazuki is not a problem. It's not a problem. And I'll explain why it's not a problem. I've had so many people say that, Sakazuki is like the embodiment of like an unfair deck where like literally nothing else can win. It's just Sakazuki all the time. It's not interactive. It's blah, blah, blah. Guys, I'm here to tell you Sakazuki is probably the healthiest, like best deck we've ever had in the game. It's just that simple. And, back in the day, whenever I used to complain about red being completely unfair, which it was, in set 1, red wasn't the best deck, but Luffy and Zoro were the two of the best decks, obviously Kid being the best, but they were two of the best decks. And then in set 2, the best deck being Whitebeard. And then in set 3, the best deck being Whitebeard. And then set 4, the best deck being Whitebeard. And then set 5, Whitebeard's still pretty good. That is a problem. That is a deck that is completely unfair because you can just build it so many different ways and it literally can just play into any meta all the time. It's ridiculously good. It's too good. But Sakazuki is a deck that it is very fragile, right? It loses to a lot of things. It loses to aggression. It loses to other Sakazuki decks. I mean, obviously, it loses to, Katakuri being, just high rolly, Enel being very high rolly. It loses to bad luck. It loses to not seeing, combo pieces. Sakazuki is the best, most fragile deck in the game. And it is a deck that requires a lot of skill to play correctly. Even myself, I messed up plenty of times when I was streaming the other day. And because I just wasn't paying attention, I was focused on chat. I was, thinking about other things in my head, with my life going on. And I ended up losing a couple games because of it. And that is, in my opinion, a completely healthy deck, right? Is like a deck that can lose to plenty of things. And a deck that obviously you need to be very good to play it. It's very similar to Law back in set, since Law came out, Red Green Law is, if you are a really good Law player, you will just like make things work. You will win more games than you lose because you are that good with the deck. And it's the same thing with Sakazuki is like, if you are very good at like managing resources and, using like knowing when to use your removal or like, knowing which cards to discard and, when to play what. And it's just very, very like specific skills you need to have to be good with Sakazuki. And I think that's completely fair. People will complain this is the first time a control deck has ever actually been the best deck in the game. Since the game existed. Well, I guess you can consider Kid kind of like a control deck. But I consider that more like mid-range aggro. But I guess with the 8-cost Kid involved, it becomes a little bit more of a control deck. But this is the first time a blue deck, I'll say, has ever been the best deck in the game. And I think that I don't know why people are complaining about it. I think it is completely fair to like let other decks have their fun in the sun, right? Like, like purple is finally like somewhat viable now, purple Luffy is somewhat viable. Next set we have blue purple Reiju, however you want to say it. Like, this is good for the game, guys. Like, whenever you have, all of these colors kind of coming in and out of the meta, the problem, what wasn't good for the game is Whitebeard or just other variants of red decks just completely dominating and like crushing the life out of the entire meta. Like, I don't understand how people, don't like Sakazuki, but they like love Whitebeard and Zoro. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, one deck requires like at least like some level of thought, and the other two are like, I'm gonna kill you as fast as humanly possible. And like, it's okay for a deck to be good for like one set and then like kind of good to like another like set or two down the road. But like, Whitebeard and Zoro and Law were good for like 4 or 5 sets in a row. And it's like, at some point, that's not healthy for the game. It's not healthy for the game at all. So what I want to say here is like, if Sakazuki is getting to a point where there is it's just only Sakazuki for like 5 sets in a row, or even I'll say 3 sets in a row. If Sakazuki is just like one of the best decks for like 3 sets in a row, that's not good for the game, right? That's not good for the game. That's not healthy. We want other decks to be able to shine. And if Sakazuki is still that good, of course, we need to go other routes and like either rotating it out of the format or banning it, whatever it is. And I'm completely okay with that, right? I remember someone a long time ago talked to me about You know, if my opinion would change if my favorite color was dominant for multiple sets in a row, and I told them it wouldn't. And I'm going to stick to my guns because I have a lot of integrity, is if Sakazuki or blue or just whatever deck I like playing, right, is the best deck in the game for 3 sets in a row, it is a deck worthy of a ban or restriction or rotation. And it doesn't matter if it's my favorite deck. It doesn't matter if it's my least favorite deck. It's not healthy for the game. But at this point, Sakazuki hasn't done nearly enough to warrant people complaining about him, crying for a ban. Like, there's so much, like, it's just ridiculous, guys. Like, a deck is allowed to be the best deck in the format, right? Like, I know that everyone is like, I wouldn't say everyone, right? But I know a lot of people are complaining about Sakazuki just like overall being like a powerhouse. But I like, at some point a deck has to be the best deck in the game, right? Like, I think it's completely fair for, you know, there to be a tier 1 deck, right? I don't think it's tier 0 just about yet, because tier 0 requires, like, what is it, like over half of like all tournaments to just like have to be playing that deck. And over half of all like top 64 spots to be playing that deck. We're not at that point, guys. For those of you guys who don't know, Enel has won pretty much everything over here in America, and then Sakazuki obviously has done great over there in the European nationals, as well as, you know, Japan towards the end. But it's still not even close to being able, like, to be banned, right? Also, while we're on this subject, people are also complaining that, like, about Nami for whatever reason. So I don't like Nami, right? Nami, in my opinion, is a deck that requires 0 thought. It is a deck that literally requires 0 interaction, and it prevents your opponent from playing the game that they want to play, right? One Piece is fun because it's all back and forth. It's like, I'm going to take this life, I'm going to counter. I'm going to take this life, I'm going to counter. I'm going to protect my characters, I'm going to play characters. When you're playing against Nami, it's literally, I have to go 7 to 9 at life every single turn within a certain amount of turns, or I lose. It's not like, oh, should I counter out of this one? Should I take this? It's not like that, guys. It is like legitimately just like the most boring, uninteractive, like yawn snooze fest deck I've ever seen. And it's not fun to play against. It's not fun to play with. It's not fun to watch. It's just like, it's not fun for your opponent. It's just the deck that, like, who roots for that? So of course, when I say I don't want to interview a Nami player, or I don't even want to watch a Nami game, it's just the truth. I don't even want to play against Nami because it's the truth. I literally just, like, I love the One Piece the card game, and Nami isn't One Piece the card game. It is Solitaire the Solitaire. So that probably didn't make a lot of sense, but it's true though. It's just not fun. It's not fun at all. So yeah, guys, that's my thoughts. Sakazuki, okay. Nami, bad. Yeah, I mean, think of it like this, like we haven't done anything. It's literally, we haven't even done our own nationals yet, and people are complaining about Sakazuki when there's so many counters to Sakazuki. There's yellow. Apparently Zoro is now a counter to Sakazuki. Apparently Rebecca is a counter to Sakazuki. Like, there's so many counters to Sakazuki. How is it even possible that it's like an unfair deck? To me, that just doesn't make any sense at all. And I try to back up all these claims with using Eggman's event, or Eggman's website, because he has a like clean little pie graph showing all like the top represented decks from a format. But for some reason, Eggman's event won't actually work for whatever reason. I don't know. But yeah, I think it's actually like crazy that people actually think the way that they think, at least at this point in time. In 2 months, or I'm sorry, in 4 months, if it's still dominating in the best deck, then you have a point. But we're just not at that point yet, bro. We're not at that point yet, bro. Also, if you got to this far of the video, I will actually legitimately put pictures of my playmats that I'm selling. We're actually almost sold out. I think we have maybe like 20 of the 3 captains ones left, and then I think we only have maybe like 100 or 2 of the waifu playmats left as well. Obviously we're gonna be selling them in our store or on our website whenever it launches, but it got delayed a little bit, so we're selling them on Discord. So feel free to join our Discord. I'll link it down below. Much love to you all, and see you later.